Good morning, Joe and Serenity, and welcome back to the Carb Paleo Show.
Thanks for having us.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mark. How are you today?
Wonderful, thank you. There's no point being anything else because no one listens to me complaining anyway. So, wonderful.
Right.
Why not?
Well, you can always pretend, even if you're not.
This is true, yeah.
Okay, so Joe and Serenity, you recently started a paleo baby food company called Serenity Kids to grow healthy babies. Can you tell us about your background and, a little bit of your personal story before you started this company?
Sure. So, my loving mother wanted the best for me. And so when she was pregnant with me, she was a vegetarian. In the 70s, that seemed like the healthiest thing to do. And I was born a little early. I was born underweight. And I had my first ear infection at 2 weeks old and round of antibiotics. And then repeat that several times a year, all through my childhood. I had immune issues, anxiety, insomnia, lots of allergies, the kinds of things that come with leaky gut. And so I found paleo in about 2010 after my last ear infection really hurt my stomach. I took some medicine that was horrible. And I've been paleo ever since. And I left my corporate job 4 years ago to start a paleo coaching business called Joy of Paleo. And I learned a lot about what people are looking for in the healthy food, whole food space. And then I met Joe, and we were at Paleo FX 2016. And we started talking about having a family someday, and I started getting all like fuzzy and maternal, and I'm like, Joe, let's go find the baby stuff, let's see what baby stuff is here. Well, there was nothing, not one baby thing at the whole, like the world's biggest paleo conference. And so I went up to the CEO, Michelle, and I said, hey, Michelle, where's the baby stuff? And she said, I ask myself that question every year.
My story starts in childhood also. I was raised with high-functioning autism, but not knowing that I had autism. I was undiagnosed at the time. I wasn't diagnosed until college. They called it Asperger's then, but since then it's all been determined to be autism. And so, I was very big energy. They called me ADHD, but that wasn't helpful. And I just had a really hard time as a kid. I just took up too much space. I was too loud, too intense, too obnoxious. So I was always in trouble at school. Their kids didn't like me, and had just a really hard time with anxiety and all this intensity in my body, and also had a lot of stomach problems. Had my stomach hurt almost my entire childhood, and we'd go to the doctor and they could never say what was wrong. I just, like always had stomach. I was also overweight as a kid, and I ate mostly canned ravioli and nachos. This was basically what I sustained myself on. Now we know those foods are a combination of problematic foods that were irritating me physically. And so in middle school, a semi-popular girl took me under her wing and decided to teach me social skills. She was like, let me help you be cool. I was probably annoying her at the time, but she decided to help me, and I learned that I could improve myself, that I could make change in myself and be a better version of myself by taking feedback. And so set off on a personal growth track that's continued to this day, where I'm always seeking ways to improve myself. And then in high school, that became also improving the world, that I have this opportunity and obligation to improve the world around me and make it a better place. And my difficulty in childhood has left me passionate about improving the world for children, that I really want a better life for kids in terms of diet and the way they're treated and the way they interact with each other and the way they're educated, and really wanting to help kids with that. So started a career in youth services, started my own youth nonprofit that lasted for a few years, and was working with an adult personal growth company that brought in speakers. We started bringing in speakers to teach us about different things related to, being our best selves. And my boss found Serenity as a paleo diet speaker to come and teach us about the paleo diet. And she assigned me to be her handler. And I've been handling her ever since. I fell in love with paleo at the same time as I fell in love with her. Like at her talk, I was just like, it all made so much sense, in terms of all the diet stuff that I'd struggled with. I'd tried veganism and I'd, done candida cleanses and the GAPS diet and all these, things that were in the, eventually in the direction of paleo. And so it all kind of came together that this was the right diet for me, and switching to that's really changed my relationship with my body. It's really healed my anxiety. It's really healed my sleep issues, my focus issues. It's just like, as my system just feels much more regulated. It's not as like sporadic and crazy all the time. And so when we realized, I've always wanted children. I've always wanted to have a kid, and do it right, and, so, so Serenity and I got more and more serious. We're like, let's have a baby. I want to have a baby. And we discovered there's no paleo baby food, that this is like a huge issue, that if we have a baby, we're going to have to make all of our own food all the time. And, I intend to have a baby who's going to eat a lot. If I know anything about me and Serenity both, we're both foodies. Our baby's going to be hungry. So, we're like, we need to fill this gap and create this food, not just for our baby, but for all babies.
That's a great story. Thank you. What other flavors are you currently offering?
Yeah, so we basically what happened was we realized there's no paleo baby food. Serenity had a summer of nerddom.
Yeah.
Where she did a ton of research.
Yeah, so last summer I thought, well, maybe there's good reasons why there's no paleo baby food out there. Maybe babies aren't supposed to eat that way. I didn't know, right? So I read every book and blog and podcast about, from paleo thought leaders and just from conventional doctors and people in the health industry. And I even read the USDA's Guide to Infant Nutrition.
Oh,
like the U.S. government's Guide to Infant Nutrition, and realized babies really need to be eating a high-fat, meat, veggie kind of diet. And then I thought, well, maybe there's no paleo baby food out there on the market because babies won't eat it. And so I'm like, Joe, we've got to start making some food and getting it to some babies. We've got to start kind of testing it out. So our basic formula I developed using the same macronutrients as breast milk. When I had first went into my summer of nerddom, I thought, well, babies probably need the same kinds of macros as adults, but that's not true at all. They need a lot more fat than we do and a lot less protein. So our formulas are, breast milk is about 50-50-ish fat and carbs, and then a little bit of protein. And so that's kind of the model that we use from a nutritional perspective for each of these recipes. And then what we did was we actually let the babies decide. So we had these surveys, and we would drop off our food to the moms and the dads. And these flavors that we are launching with were the baby's favorites.
Yeah, we looked at all of other baby foods as well to see like what is out there, and how could we improve upon it. And it turns out that it's not only that there's no paleo baby food, there's actually really almost no meat and fat available for babies. And babies need 30 grams of fat a day. An enormous amount of fat that they need. There's no daily sugar requirement for babies. They don't need any sugar at all. And yet all the baby's foods are extremely high in fruit sugar. Like the standard baby food is essentially fruit or fruit plus some vegetable. Like that's the best you're going to get is fruit and veggies. We did a study of 250 organic baby food pouches. Like every baby food pouch that claimed to be ultra healthy, the organic lines. And 64% of them had 5 grams or more of sugar, which doesn't sound like a lot, but for a 15-pound baby, if you compare that to a 150-pound adult, that's 50 grams of sugar. That's a 60-ounce Coca-Cola. Scarier than that, I'm sorry, I did that stat wrong. 80% had 5 grams or more of sugar. 64% had 10 grams or more of sugar. Which is 2 Coca-Colas, and that's like more than half were extremely high in sugar. So it's like, whoa, this is crazy. Less than 1% had 2 grams or more of fat. So almost none of them had any fat. Less than 4% had meat in them. None of that meat was disclosed the source. So we have no idea if it's grass-fed or not, if it's humane, if it's, what kind of farming practices were used. Like, we don't even know. So we have to assume that it's probably pretty cheap, organic. It's organic, but it's like, organic grain fed in pens. So as far as we could tell, there was no grass-fed or pasture-raised meat available for babies. There was no high-fat options available, and there were extremely few low sugar. In fact, there was a lot of extremely high sugar. So we created these formulas using pasture-raised meat. We knew we wanted, to use grass-fed and pasture-raised meat because that's the best fat. And we knew we wanted to mix it with organic vegetables because the macros of breast milk is essentially about half fat, half carbs. So, they still do need a lot of carbs. And so we knew that starchy vegetables were going to be a much better source of carbs than fruit sugars would be. So we came up with these 3 flavors. We've got the grass-fed beef with organic sweet potato and kale. We also add a little bit of Himalayan sea salt for flavor and additional minerals. We've got our free-range chicken with organic peas and organic carrots, also with a little bit of organic with the Himalayan sea salt, and we added some organic avocado oil to this one to increase the fat content a little more. It is chicken thigh meat, so it's already somewhat fatty, but we wanted it to be nice and fatty.
Okay, I'm getting hungry.
Yeah, right? Wait till you hear this one. Pastured, uncured bacon with organic butternut squash and kale. And this is the first bacon baby food product on the market that we've found. It's this really, really delicious, this is our highest fat, lowest carb one, because the butternut squash is pretty, not as carby, and the bacon's nice and fatty. So
yeah, that one is my favorite.
Yeah, quite delicious.
I'm a big baby, so I liked it.
Totally.
So speaking of which, how do you source your ingredients? Can you tell us more about this?
Yeah, so my mom grew up on a small family farm in southern Missouri. And so I grew up going and visiting my grandparents' farm. It was a dairy farm, but they grew some crops, and they had a variety of animals and a lot of cows. And so I got to see, what it's like, that lifestyle's like, and, their relationship with the land and with the animals, and also how difficult it is economically. So we knew we wanted pasture-raised animals because the fat content's so much better. The omega-3 to omega-9 ratio is way better. The CLAs are higher. The vitamin content's higher. Basically you feed an animal, it's the diet nature intended for it. It creates the nutrients nature intended for us. And so the fat's a lot better from those animals. But given my relationship with family farms and the more we learned about farming, we were like, wow, it's a lot better if they're from smaller herds that are raised responsibly on pasture, and that we can also support these family farmers and create more demand for them. It costs more, right? It costs more to do it. It costs more to buy it. And we were like, we're just going to do that. Like we believe people will pay more for better sourced meat that's from family farms. We went and visited them. We took a little tour and visited the farms that we got connected with a farming co-op in Missouri and Iowa, and visited these, pig and cow farms that are, just amazing. The farmers are just it's like a spiritual thing calling for them, the relationship they have with the animals and with the land. And so we've committed to only sourcing, animals that are raised really responsibly, small family farmers, they're raised organically, in terms of there's no hormones, antibiotics, there's no GMO feed. It's all organic pastures that they're raised on. It's grass-fed, grass-finished cattle and pasture-raised pork. The meat's really delicious, really, really good for us. And we learned a lot about regenerative farming, that there's these farming practices that are not only sustainable, leaving the planet as good as you found it, but actually regenerate the planet. These farmers are, sequestering carbon and regenerating grasslands through responsible grazing practices, and that this is happening all over the world, where people are using animal herds to actually improve the planet. and we're excited to be supporting those and sourcing our meat from them.
Sounds great. Thank you. What are the products are not in your baby food?
Yeah, so that was one of the big things for me. I had gone through, and so had Joe, really, elimination diet after elimination diet and allergy testing and all this complicated stuff. So really, we wanted it to be pure and clean and simple. So we mixed those super responsibly sourced meats with organically grown vegetable purees. And that's really it. There's a little bit of salt and a little bit of oil, but really what's not in it is any of the allergens, the major allergens. There's no seafood, dairy, gluten, soy, all
grains
like
of any kind.
grains of any kind. I'm looking at the back of our label.
There's no fruit. There's no anything sweet at all. Like there's no sweeteners of any kind, including fruit. There's no stabilizers or chemicals to preserve it.
Is it dairy-free?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't see that on the label. Is it there?
It's on the back. It's
They made us say milk-free.
Yeah, they made us say milk.
We couldn't say dairy-free. They made us say milk-free.
The USDA is very picky.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, at least you got through that alive.
It's not easy.
So, speaking of all of this, it sounds to me you have a mission. Can you tell us about your mission?
Yeah, so I'm a spiritual person and I journal a lot. And every day, one of the things that I journal is that I want to end childhood diabetes and really work on childhood obesity. I was a sugar addict as a kid. Thinking about sugar was something I did constantly. And part of it was because of the foods that I had in my diet. We didn't know that those things weren't best. The low fat trend had started when I was a kid. And so, progressively through my childhood, it got lower and lower fat and higher in sugar. And so really, one of our big missions is to educate parents who aren't educated now about the dangers of sugar and the importance of fat. And then also for the parents who are educated, it's to provide something that's more convenient. Yes, homemade food is the best. And not every parent has the time to do that every single day for every single meal. And so we wanted to provide a convenient option that was actually something that parents would want to feed their kids.
Yeah, our new website is a clearinghouse of infant nutrition, because there's so much confusing information. Parents are overwhelmed with, you should do this, you should not do this, you should do this, and their grandma's telling them one thing and their mother's telling them another thing. So we're just like, let's bring it all together. We Serenity co-authored an ebook with Dr. Sarah Ballantyne, Paleo Mom, and the quick nutrition, the quick start guide for infant nutrition that just really brings all the most up-to-date information together. It also includes recipes for how to make your own baby food. So we're all about homemade baby food. That's the healthiest, next to breast milk. So we want parents to make it, and we know that they don't always have time. So we want to make, convenient options that are still healthy. So when they send the kid to grandma's or to nursery, or when they're in the car, they're traveling or whatever, that they have some food to feed them. And then for me, the mission goes beyond feeding children, that I really want, equality and freedom and rights for children. They're one of the most oppressed groups on the planet in terms of, they're treated like property and, physically abused, and, the punishment reward control systems that are taught as good parenting. And then the school system, which to me mimics factory farming. The school system is factory farming. Kids,
yeah, I'd agree with that.
Being fed the same, stuff that is not matching what their body or mind or spirit needs. And so the more I learn about factory farming, the more I'm like, wow, this is all related, the way we treat children and the way we treat our animals and the way we're treating the planet. And so my big mission is to help educate people that that's all together. What's good for your body is good for, the farmers, is good for the animals, and essentially it's good for the planet. Supporting regenerative agriculture and these family farmers, is an economic and environmental mission that we have. So we're buying regenerative agriculture from small family farms. Just the more of the product we sell, the more we can support them. We put it on our label that's where it comes from. So USDA is very clear. If we put that there, it has to only come from there. So we can't lie about that. We had to prove that they were family farms, or to prove that they were small. We had to prove, have to prove everything. So, which is great. I'm glad that that's true. And we're committed to that. And we are donating money back to the Farm to Consumer Legal Defense Fund, which is an amazing nonprofit that supports family farmers to help them, survive, gives them the legal resources that larger, manufacturers and factory farmers have, helps them survive lawsuits or change laws. And then they also are help increasing consumer access to nutrient-dense foods like raw milk and other foods that are over-regulated. And so we're getting 1% of all of our profits to them to really help give back to these farmers.
Yeah, we've interviewed them, and they do a really good job.
They do.
Yeah,
it's a great organization.
So inspiring.
Yeah, I'm a member as well.
Oh, nice.
Let's see. How is your product shelf stable, or is it refrigerated?
Yeah, it's shelf stable for up to a year.
Okay.
So we've got a manufacturing process that's sort of similar to the canning process, if you've ever canned anything. And so it's called retort, and it uses pressure and heat to make sure that the pathogens aren't there. It's because it's a meat product, right? So we have to be really, really careful with it. And then after you open it, it needs to be refrigerated, and it's good for a day or two.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which probably one pouch is good for one meal, or you get 2 meals out of it.
It depends on the size of the person who's eating it, right? Like a
Right.
little tiny 6-month-old baby might not need 4 ounces of food on any given meal, But then again, babies don't necessarily eat like we do with 3 meals a day,
Right.
spread out. Sometimes they won't eat for a day very much, and then they'll eat a whole lot the next couple of days. So
Right.
it kind of depends.
Right. For me, I'll probably need 4.
You probably would eat about
Yeah.
4.
And which is great because it's very convenient. It's you can throw that in mommy's bag, and it's available whenever the kid is hungry, which is not necessarily on the schedule, like you said. By the way, congratulations on your recent Delish magazine article.
Thank you.
How did you get that? That?
Yeah, we hired an amazing public relations person who had come highly recommended, and she is really helping us to figure out how do we make our message ready for the public. And she actually figured out some of the kind of key unique points to us in our business that we didn't think very much about before. She said, but hold on, wait a second. You formulated this based on the macros of mother's milk? Like that's newsworthy. That's something that you want to talk about. Or wait, you've already sold 1,800 pouches before you've launched, like pre-sales. Like that's a big deal, like sharing that. So she's been able to help us kind of, she has a lot of experience in the paleo world and a lot of experience in the baby world. And so she already knows like what's a big deal and what's not a big deal. And so we put out a press release, just one press release went out a couple weeks ago, and we've gotten a lot of feedback and a lot of different postings and repostings and articles we don't even know about coming out, people send to us, and it's been kind of exciting and fun.
Great.
Yeah, I think the journalists like it because it's disruptive,
Right.
something very different than has been done in baby food in a long time. It's not brand new. Back in the 30s and 40s and 50s, they had lots of meat in baby foods. Including liver and things like that. It's not new. It's in fact very old. And so it's very paleo in that sense. But as far as the innovation, not very much innovation in the baby food space. Like the introduction of the pouch 9 years ago was sort of the most innovative thing that's happened, and since then there hasn't been much. So really introducing and of course the paleo trend is getting bigger and bigger, and so we're much bigger than paleo. But for the industry, this is available for babies now is very interesting to them.
Right. So, what kind of feedback are you getting from moms? I suppose you use lots of moms as a test subject, or babies, moms, babies.
Yeah, we actually had the moms taste it as well.
Yeah.
Because can you imagine what it would be like to be a baby with a mom who was feeding you with a spoon, like with a face like this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So we know that some of the moms taste it, and a lot of the moms that are our customers do taste it. And the feedback that we're getting, we just went to a mommy show, a trade show in LA on Saturday. And,
Mommy Con.
Yeah, Mommy Con. It's a thing. And my favorite quote of the day was from a mom who said, after she tasted it, it's not gross. It's it actually tastes like the ingredients that are in there. I'd eat that. Tastes better than I thought it would. So from a taste perspective, we're getting really good feedback even from adults. We knew we'd eat it from our taste tests that we had, before we ended up launching. But it feels really good to be able to feed adults something that doesn't sound particularly, mouth-watering. Pureed meat and vegetables isn't exactly my number one, gourmet food craving. And so to have the feedback on the taste, not only is it the healthiest possible nutrients inside, but also it tastes amazing.
Right. I suspect some moms are going to steal fruit from their babies.
That's what moms do anyway. Right?
And some dads.
Yeah, right. If you make something for a baby or you open one of these, right, and the baby's not really hungry or doesn't want it at that time, the parents always eat it, right? Yeah. That's kind of just how it works. And so to be able to have something also that's not macaroni and cheese, or chicken nuggets, something that a parent would actually want to eat because they're going to eat the leftovers.
Right.
A lot of adults eat baby food, it turns out.
Yeah,
we get a lot of adults who tell us they eat baby food. Primarily they either use this as a sweet fruity snack or they buy the vegetable ones to go with they get an Epic bar and a veggie puree, and that's sort of their shelf-stable lunch,
Right.
A lot of those customers are really excited to be able to use our product instead of those that has some fat and some protein and some veggies in there. And tastes a lot better. So we expect a lot of adults to be coming out with, eating our products, and the branding isn't nearly as cutesy or baby-like as a lot of the other baby foods. We intentionally choose a very clean, professional, adult-like brand, both so that adults would be able to eat it, but because we don't want to treat children in this condescending way, where kids should be able to have real food also.
Yeah. So first of all, is your product already out there, or where is it sold, and do you sell it online and all the good stuff?
Yeah, so we're launching the first week of September. And so right now we're taking pre-sales. So you can go on and pre-order, which will be delivered the first week of September. And then we'll launch on our website and on Amazon. And then we're talking to a bunch of different stores. We anticipate being in, every major natural foods retailer by the end of 2018. All those things take time. So, we've begun the discussions and they're all very interested. And the more we sell online and the more attention we get, the easier it'll be to get stocked in those stores.
So how big is your team at this point? Just the two of you, or do you have salespeople?
Well, the two of us are the only employees. We have a lot of supporters. We have contractors and, amazing advisory board. And, we brought in experts of all different kinds for all the different aspects of the business. And, so we have about 25 people who are on the team in some capacity helping out. But as of now, it's just us handling it all.
Okay. But you're done doing it in your kitchen now. It's, you have a manufacturing company. Is it local in Texas, or is it?
No, it's in Missouri. Yeah, it turns out that to make shelf-stable meat baby food, you can't really do that in your own home. So it requires that retort manufacturing process. So our company had to be kind of bigger than we originally had planned because we wanted to keep with that 4-ounce pouch that was shelf stable. And because that's what moms know, like, we're doing something that's pretty disruptive. And so we wanted it to kind of look and feel familiar. You know, we didn't want to do something super crazy or out there, or we didn't want to do something frozen or refrigerated. You know, we wanted it to fit in enough with the products and the delivery mechanisms that were already out there on the market. So that part, at least, wouldn't scare people away from trying something new.
So the word is out. You probably need some salespeople to help you get out there, right?
You looking for a job? Huh?
I'm a terrible salesperson, but for products that I respect and love, maybe you can convince me.
All right.
We
Take you to lunch.
we will have an affiliate program. So people like you who want to promote this to your followers and also make a little bit in the process, that is available. So anybody listening who has a blog or strong social media following or whatever, you can, you know, talk to us about becoming an affiliate.
Cool. Absolutely. Mark?
Well, you both said you had quite bad stomach problems when you were younger. And it wasn't until you found paleo that most of those stomach problems went away, or they all went away. Is that right?
That's true.
Yeah. So I'm guessing you're hoping that this is going to make sure that, you know, the children that eat the food that you're preparing aren't going to have the same problems that you had.
That's exactly right. You know, right now, parents who want to feed their kids a low inflammatory diet don't have the option from a convenience food perspective. You know, they have to, we've heard of, I mean, there's so many people that hire private chefs that make all of their own stuff. We heard of a mom who stayed up, she's like, yeah, you know, I stayed up until midnight every night making my own baby food when I was working, when my baby was a baby, because I was not willing to compromise there. Think about how stressful that was for the mom and baby to have a extra sleep deprived mom, right? And so really what we want to do out there is to provide a low inflammation food that, you know, parents, I mean, they may feed their kid the fruit pouches sometimes, and that's okay. You know, it's just about having that other high fat option. Really, that's what we're going for. Like, we want to be known as the high-fat baby food. And we want people to be like, high-fat baby food, what? You know, and then learn that high-fat's actually really, really important. And that's going to help their guts grow and develop and be, you know, exciting flora and fauna and all those awesome probiotics and all of the things that come from a gut-brain axis, you know, that come with a healthy gut. You get a healthy mind. You can be sharper. You can be more alert. You can be more creative because you're not sitting there focusing on, oh gosh, I have a tummy ache.
Right. But, you know, there's still a lot of resistance against high fat. So how do you overcome that block? Because people around me, and they know I'm a nutritionist and a paleo, and they still say, how can you eat all that fat? And it's like, it's not that much for first of all. And secondly, it's been debunked a long time ago that low fat is a horrible diet.
Yeah. So really what we do is we just talk about breast milk. Breast milk is about 50% fat. Did you know that babies need 30 grams of fat a day? Which if you translate that from a 15-pound baby to a 150-pound adult, that would be 300 grams of fat a day.
Wow.
That's a ton of fat.
It's a lot of Kerrygold.
It's like a whole package of butter.
Oh, no,
right?
It's more like 5 of them, but yeah.
It's a lot. And so that's really what I talk about. Because, you know, people nowadays, breastfeeding is much more popular than it used to be. And people are understanding that, like, you know, if you can breastfeed, that's a really good option nutritionally for your baby. All of the, you know, World Health Organization and American Association of Pediatrics and all of these organizations are now on board with feeding babies breast milk. And so, you know, that part people can really get. So that I use that as the stepping stone for getting them to high fat is good for babies.
Yeah. And I think that anecdotally, parents somewhat know what sugar does to their kids. You know, there's already a lot of awareness around like sugar and kids. So, you know, part of it's like drawing the line between fruit and that sugar reaction, that it's like fruit sugar causes the same kind of inflammation. Like just because it's not added sugar, if it's got a lot of fruit sugar in it, it's still problematic. And then really showing that like fat actually does the opposite of what sugar does. It actually is calming, soothing, filling, and so the Serenity, in addition to being my beautiful fiance's name, it's also like the concept we're wanting to sell, that like eating fat instead of sugar causes a much more serene system, and for a serene baby and serene moms, like serene baby, serene mom, it's not a common things you hear together. And so, but we want the serenity for the mom and the baby, and then the animals living on pasture and their natural environment are very serene. The farming lifestyle, living on a family farm, like, is very serene. So it's like we want to teach serenity throughout all of that. And then we want to create more foods. That we're starting with baby food, but we want our products to grow with our customer. So as the infant grows into a toddler, grows into a child, we want to continue to create more packaged products. Like, we're committed to, them being packaged so that they're convenient. Always making food is the best. We're never going to say it's a replacement for homemade food. And like, sometimes it's not an option. Feeding time is one of the most stressful times for parents, is like dealing with food. So we want foods that taste really good, that look cool, that feel cool, that are easy to eat, that are shelf stable, so that they can be sent with them to school, but that also contain really high quality meat, fat, and vegetables.
Yeah, that would be perfect for a lunchbox.
Yeah.
For kids and adults.
Good job. Yeah, exactly. Okay, I want to invest.
Yeah, me too.
So, you say you're launching on the 1st of September. Brilliant. Where can people find out the website and everything else, Facebook and what have you?
Yes, you can. You can go to our website, www.myserenitykids.com, and there you can learn more about us and our products, and also purchase, pre-order if you're there going before launch, or just regular purchase. It's all 2-day shipping. It's all via Amazon Prime, so checkout's really easy. Just use your Amazon account. Free 2-day shipping. And then we're also on Facebook at facebook.com/myserenitykids, and on Instagram at myserenitykids. So myserenitykids across the board.
Super job. So we should
And let's get the word out. And for retail stores, you need to contact these guys.
Tell them you want it. Yeah. That's right.
Super. Well, I think we've touched on most of the things we need to touch on. Is there anything you two would like to mention that we haven't asked you?
Oh, well, for your listeners, we'd love to offer them a discount on the product if they want to go on and try it. We'd love to offer 10% discount. They can use the code LCPS, Low Carb Paleo Show. LCPS, just all caps, on the discount in their shopping cart, and that will get them 10% off their entire order.
Great.
Excellent.
Great. Thank you.
Free shipping.
Yeah, free shipping as well. Yep, 2 days.
Excellent. Super job. Alan, back to you, I think.
All right. Thank you again, Joe and Serenity, for being on the Low Carb Paleo Show. And as we say in Texas, à votre santé, y'all.
Oh, you got 3 giggles that time, Alan.
Yeah, they actually giggled.
They did.
And it didn't sound too forced.
Well, thank you both. It's been wonderful having you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you guys so much.